Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. The next semester went great. Mike's grades were back up where they belonged. And it appeared that Sam was challenging Mike to see whose grades were better. He beat her, but just barely. Sam had to go back to Japan at the end of the semester at the instance of her father. She managed to prolong it for 3 weeks. But then I had to leave. The goodbyes weren't as emotional as they had been the first time, as both of them knew that they would see each other in just a couple of months. That fall, Sam was back 2 weeks before school started. Mike thought that she had matured over the summer and was prettier than ever. They settled into school and had a great year. Mike pulled almost a 4-point average and made the dean's list. Sam was only 1/10 of a point behind him and also on the dean's list. One thing that Mike's parents had learned in the past couple of years was how important Sam was to him, and they felt that he needed to learn a little about her culture. So, they paid for a trip to Japan the summer between his sophomore and junior years. Sam's father had sent her money for a ticket, and there was enough to upgrade Mike's to first class with hers. Japan. The flight is a long one, 18 hours, but being in first class helped. They had a long time to talk, and it was Sam that asked the $64,000 question. Do you have any secrets from me? Mike looked at her for a long time and said, well, only one. Only one? Will you tell me? Yes, but you'll probably hate me. And I've never told this to another person. It would take a lot to make me hate you. Please tell me. Okay, here goes nothing. You know that I like to keep my body hairless, and you also like it that way. Right? Yes. And I said that I did it for the swim team. Yes. Well, that's only half true. Go on. I like girls' clothes. So do I. No. I mean that I like to wear girls' clothes. I'm a crossdresser. Oh. She sat there for a few seconds. Is that all? I thought that you were going to tell me something terrible. You do have a softer side. That's one of the things that I love about you. But that's cool. You like to wear girls' clothes. Too bad that they were not the same size we could share. You're not mad? You don't hate me. No. I love you too much. I love you for who you are, and if dressing like a girl is part of you, then it's fine with me. But I want to see you dressed. You want to see me dressed? Yes. I want to see if I want to go out with you dressed. Go out. I've never been out dressed, except when I was younger and dressed as a girl for Halloween. There's always a first time, and it could be fun, she said with a smile and kiss. He sat there dumbfounded. He looked at her again and said, You're okay with this? A boyfriend that's a crossdresser. No other questions. It's fine, as long as you don't want to have a sex change or are gay. No way. I was just so afraid that you'd hate me when you found out and not want to see me again. No, silly. In my one psychology class, we studied crossdressing and transsexuals, and I learned quite a bit about it. And crossdressers are basically born that way, and they aren't going to change. You have to love them or leave them. And it just so happens that I love you. I love you too. Very much. I know. Now, do you have any secrets from me? No. You know all about me. Even the old boyfriends. Just then the airplane's captain came on the intercom and said the plane was about to land. Sam looked at Mike and said, Just remember to bow deeply when you meet my parents, and don't call me Sam in front of them. My sister, Sachiko, will probably give you a kiss. She shouldn't, but that's just the way she is. Very forward. You're in dresses, interesting. They made it through Japanese customs without a problem and went looking for Masumi's parents. Mike was a bundle of nerves. He wanted to marry this girl one day, and he was meeting her parents for the first time. They saw them near the baggage pickup and Masumi waved at them. Sachiko waved back, ran over to her sister, gave her a big kiss, then she turned to Mike and kissed him like a long-lost brother. The three then walked over to where Masumi's parents were waiting, and she made the introductions. Mike remembered to bow deeply, and in somewhat halting Japanese said, I'm very pleased to meet you. Sachiko was just as pretty as Masumi, and their mother was also a very handsome woman of about 45. Her father appeared to be a very proper gentleman, also about 45. Masumi's father said something to her too quickly for Mike to understand with his limited Japanese. She turned to Mike and said, "Dad said to grab our bags. The car is waiting." They went and got their bags and followed Masumi's parents out the door. The two girls were whispering and giggling all the way from the baggage area to the car. Mike could only catch a few words, his name, dress, to name a few. The car was a little more than Mike expected. It was a chauffeur-driven limousine. Not a big limo, but it held the five of them very comfortably. The ride to the Matsushita home would take about 2 hours. On the way, Mrs. Matsushita said to Mike in perfect English, "So, you're the young man who has stolen my daughter's heart?" Mike broke out in a cold sweat and looked at Masumi. She grinned at him. "Yes, ma'am. I guess I am," he said nervously. "I can see why." "You're a very nice-looking young man, and very polite," she said with a motherly smile. "Thank you, ma'am." Things loosened up from that point. And the talk varied from school to the trip to what they were going to do for the month that Mike was in Japan. Mike wanted to see the country and was hoping to do a rail trip. He also learned that both Mr. and Mrs. Matsushita were schooled in the States, that he had a master's in business administration from the Harvard Business School, and that she was a psychologist. The only one not to join in the conversation was Mr. Matsushita, and this bothered Mike a little. When they arrived at the Matsushita home, Mike was surprised. He had seen pictures of it that Masumi had, but it didn't prepare him for what he saw. It was a large modern house with very manicured grounds and a couple of outbuildings. One of these buildings was a guest house, and that's where Mike was going to be staying. Masumi had said she had arranged a place for him to stay at no cost, but had neglected to tell him where. The car pulled up in front of the guest house. The driver retrieved Mike's bags from the trunk and set them inside. Mike, Masumi, and Sachiko got out and stood by the car. Mrs. Matsushita, looking at her daughters, said, "We'll see the three of you at the house for dinner. Show Mike around a little. You can do more tomorrow, and you two behave yourselves." "Yes, Mother." Bowing, the two girls replied in unison. The car drove away, and the three walked into the house. Mike looked at Masumi and said, "Sam, you didn't tell me your dad was rich. You said he was just an officer in a company." The two girls giggled a little. "He is just a company officer. He's the vice president of a large automobile manufacturing company. I'm not sure he likes me, but I think your mother does. He's just an old stuffed shirt. Go play golf with him and he'll loosen up. And, yes, Mom likes you. She had better." The three of them got Mike settled in and walked down to the house for dinner. Over the next 2 weeks, he and Masumi went to a number of places. Some were close to her house, some were a couple of hours by train ride away. He also played a round of golf with Mr. Matsushita, and they actually had a good time with each other. It was apparent to everyone, including Mr. Matsushita, that there was something special between these two, and they gave them as much time alone as they wanted. Sachiko could be a little annoying, but after all she was Sam's sister and knew what was going on all along. One evening towards the end of his second week, they were sitting in the garden talking, and Sam asked Mike, "Do you remember what I asked you on the airplane? You asked me a number of things. You told me about your crossdressing. And I said that I wanted to see you dressed." "Yes, but I thought that you were kidding." "I wasn't kidding. I really want to see what you look like dressed." "Well, I guess, when we get back to the States. I don't have any clothes here. If I came up with the clothes here, would you do it?" "I guess. But yours are too small." "I know," she said with a little smile, "but I have an idea." "You're going to get me in trouble, aren't you?" "No. But we're going shopping tomorrow. And right now I want to take your measurements." They walked, hand in hand, back to the guest house, and Sam took all the measurements that she needed. While she was taking the measurements, she asked Mike to tell her about his crossdressing. He told her that he had started very young with his mother's things. He had found a pair of her panties and nylons in the clothes hamper, taken them to his room, put them on, and been hooked on feminine things ever since. He had later used his sister's things. And when he was a teenager, he had gotten up the nerve to purchase his own panties, bra, and pantyhose, and was able to keep them hidden from the family. But never had his own outer clothes until he started college, and his roommate quit school after the first couple of weeks. He had gone to a thrift store and found a really nice gray skirt, cranberry sweater outfit, and nightgowns, and just purchased them. He had worried that a clerk or someone would say something, but no one had. With his roommate gone, he was able to dress in the privacy of his room. "You should have told me earlier," she said. "I was afraid that I'd lose you if you found out." "No way, babe. I love you too much." Kissing Mike goodnight, Sam said, "Get a good night's sleep, lover. We're shopping tomorrow." Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.